moist, ointment, belly, panties, phlegm. Nothing's wrong with these words, but plenty of people still can't help but find them kind of gross. What does this have to do with gambling news? I'll explain on this week's episode of PlayUSA to Z. I'm Jessica Welman, and I'm usually here to squelch some of the bad reputation gambling in the U.S. has, but looking around the headlines this week, I gotta be honest that this week's episode's gonna shed some light on some less than awesome gambling news and talk about what the U.S. industry has to do to establish itself as a trustworthy entity that cares both about providing a good customer experience and making sure that the customer is okay. Before we clean house on these headlines, let's do the standard episode housekeeping. New channel, PlayUSA News. So if you are seeing Kim's journey through slots and other videos and you don't see the red subscribe button filled up down here, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this channel as well if you want to know when my videos drop, as well as our Q&A Tuesdays from Nicole. You can also follow at Visit PlayUSA on Twitter for updates on all the Play Network happenings. All right, now time for the dirty work. Let me preface by saying these are some of these super cringe-worthy headlines, and then others are just going to raise an eyebrow. But I have devised a rating scale using emojis. The lowest rank on this three-pronged scale is the unamused face. The middle tier is the green, I'm feeling nauseous emoji, and the worst offenders, I am not mincing my words or even my smiley faces in place of words, they get the puke emoji. Let's ease in with a small-time offender from Pennsylvania. I think we all know that illegal gambling is an American pastime up there with baseball and making apple pies. And as much as we want to regulate gaming and get people on legal betting apps and gambling in legal casinos, there will always be an underbelly that leaves us unamused, especially when they steal the headlines. And let me tell you, this story definitely stole some headlines. So illegal gambling machines in Pennsylvania have been in the news long before the state legalized certain types of video gambling terminals in 2018. Now, just because some VGTs are legal does not mean that these illegal machines suddenly are legal too. You would think a veteran trooper with the Bureau of Gaming Enforcement would know the dangers of these illegal machines, but apparently for Trooper Robert Covington, the drawbacks did not outweigh the benefits. Covington is an alleged co-owner of, I'm not making this up, Sinners Swing Gentlemen's Club in Mayfield Borough, Pennsylvania. In addition to offering exotic dancing and t-shirts for purchase reading, "I support working women, one pole at a time," the facility is supposedly also home to prostitution, gambling, and money laundering. You would think with so much illicit activity, the facility would like to keep a low profile, but that would be wrong. The Sinners Swing is housed in, I kid you not, what appears to be a hot pink barn. At this facility on Wednesdays, they wear pink and operate an illegal underground casino. They better watch out, too, because there are some sledgehammer-wielding bandits who are currently terrorizing the illegal skill games of Philadelphia. They storm into the facilities and then they smash the machines to bits. This is the part where I tell the people of Pennsylvania, you need to do better, and this is not a good look. We are not amused. Okay, who am I kidding? I give this story 2 thumbs up and the biggest smile emoji I can find because I'm never going to get to say Sinners Swing, hot pink barn, and sledgehammer-yielding bandits in such close proximity of each other ever again. Okay, maybe this rating system is flawed, or maybe that was just a bad example. Here's hoping for the latter, and this next story will be the one that we are really looking down our noses at. You know, for a long time, I didn't have any trouble identifying a regulated U.S. betting market from an unregulated one. You want to bet on The Bachelor? That would be a sportsbook in Curaçao's territory. Want to bet on the spread? Iowa has you covered. Now, though, U.S. sportsbooks are starting to get a bit more adventurous in what they offer. While the Oscars betting markets used to be considered the most risky thing people would try here in the States, many states are now keen to start offering markets on NFL free agency. Colorado sportsbooks have had a ton of interest in Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz betting markets. New Jersey was the only state to offer something like that last year when they took bets on where Tom Brady would land. This is where you might be asking why Jess is being such a buzzkill and throwing an unamused face on this. To which I say both, have you met me? I am Captain Buzzkill, as well as there's a bit of an asterisk here. The reason this development is a low-level offender is because the idea in and of itself, it's not bad, but the execution has to be right. There are people in the world who are privy to insider info that would give them a serious advantage on these bets. And they aren't just the players and coaches restricted from betting within the regulations of most states. There are agents involved, staffers of all sorts within every NFL franchise, including, a janitor who cleaned up an office at the exact right time to hear something on a phone call or find a deal memo in the wastebasket. So, the key with these bets is not to never offer them, but to offer them for stakes that aren't going to change anybody's life. So far, that seems to be the approach U.S. books are taking. Seems like 4 figures is about as much anyone is going to make off these, and that's how much it should be. The other issue is making sure that these bets go on and off the board accordingly as news breaks around the big deals. Now, moving on, last week, I was downright excited at the prospect of Texas sports betting, but someone else is being Captain Buzzkill when it comes for the push for Lone Star State sportsbooks. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick minced no words when it came to the Bills' prospects. He told a local news channel, "It's not even an issue that's going to see the light of day this session." He even got a little snippy about the potential revenue boost for state coffers from sports betting, noting it pays for about half a day out of the year. Patrick is not someone just blindly opposing gambling for moral reasons. His point is simply there's not lawmaker support to make it happen, so let's not waste our time on these things. But I am still going to make a bit of a skeptical, unamused face that Patrick is a lawmaker who happens to accept campaign donations from Oklahoma casinos, keen on keeping gambling out of Texas and keeping Texans in their doors. Now, moving on, I will admit just about any time I have to talk about Dave Portnoy or Jose Canseco, get a little queasy. But this next story deserves the nauseous rating even if the two weren't involved. So each year in West Virginia, there's this wrestling event called Rough and Rowdy. And a few years ago, Barstool acquired the Rough and Rowdy brand, and they host the big main event each year on pay-per-view. This year's main event featured former baseball pro Jose Canseco and a 22-year-old Barstool intern known as Billy Football. The fight lasted a total of less than 15 seconds. Canseco went down and did not get back up. Even Portnoy was disappointed and tweeted that Canseco 100% took a dive. Is that so bad? Yeah, and here's why. Barstool Sportsbook, which recently launched in Michigan, accepted wagers on this fight because it was sanctioned by the West Virginia State Athletic Commission. In theory, sanctioned fights should be on the up and up, so one participant not trying his hardest is a problem. So much so that the commission in West Virginia is going to look into the event. It's also a problem that a sportsbook took wagers on it. Here's where I will say, Barstool Sportsbooks graded Billy Football bets winners and did void the bets on Canseco, or else I would have thrown out all the puke faces I can muster. Instead, we reserve this sole puke face rating for a story out of Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's setup that allows an open application process means there's actually a hyper-local operator in the mix called Action 24/7. Tina Hodges, the woman behind the online sportsbooks, also operates one of the biggest chains of payday loans in the state, Advance Financial. At the last Tennessee lottery hearing, there were some concerns from the regulators that these payday loan institutions were serving as locations to also fund Action 24/7 sportsbook accounts. However, as the Tennessee lottery reasoned, If they can go across the street to a CVS and use Pay Near Me to deposit on a sports book, there's no real reason to tell the app that they can't do this. However, a recent report from Legal Sports Report claims these payday loan centers may have done more than just fund Action 24/7 accounts. Tennessee lawmaker Darren Jernigan recently introduced a piece of legislation to expressly ban funding sportsbook accounts at financial facilities like these. He also claimed he had a customer willing to testify that he deposited at the Payday loan facility, bet and won, and then the facility used his winnings to cover the outstanding balance on a separate loan from his deposit. Advance Financial denied that this is the policy within the company and issued the following statement to Legal Sports Report. This practice is not happening in our stores. No one has contacted us with a complaint like this ever. If you find someone that has experienced anything like this at one of our stores, please contact me. We will remedy the situation immediately. Here is hoping this is somehow a misunderstanding, because if true, it's a really vomit-inducing look for an industry that is otherwise off to a fast and promising start in the state. Here's hoping. Now, I go from promising beginnings to fitting endings to wrap up this week's video. Can't be a total downer and end with a puke face, so let's end with the tearing down of a building many are happy to see go bye-bye instead. By the time you watch this, Trump Plaza in Atlantic City will be no more. The town is preparing parties and events around the implosion of the facility, and we actually are going to have folks on hand from PlayNJ to document it all. Keep your eyes out for a video on perhaps the most metaphorically fitting implosion of a casino ever, right here on PlayUSA News. In the meantime, I'll see you next time on PlayUSA to Z.